So medically and sadly, miscarriages, they're common. So 1 in every 4 pregnancies results in a miscarriage. And that is why the impact on women, men, and families is actually grossly underestimated. And it's truly sad because we feel it, but the statistics don't. And as a survivor of miscarriages, as you just heard, I just wanted to share with you that it is a traumatic loss, and not just for the expected life that was lost, but for the expectations that the family of the women and loved ones have created and prepared for. But also, as our sister Pamela said, it also strips the woman, the mother, of her badge of honor into that sisterhood of motherhood, right? For me, my membership was revoked 5 times, and that's an exclusive club that I one day hope to be in, but for now, I'm not. And those 5 losses happened during the duration of, from 2004 to 2010, and 3 of those pregnancies were second trimester. And I've went on to name those wonderful little ones that I grew accustomed to. So Jade was in 2004, and she's with me tonight. Rohan in 2006, and Zen, whom you'll hear a little later about, in 2010. And with each pregnancy, what I did was I wrote letters to my expected little ones, and that was my way of sharing my most innermost feelings and thoughts about their expected lives with them, because one day I was sure to be able to read it to them. And I talked of the dreams that their dad and I had created, the dreams that my mother, who's here with me tonight, that she also had for their expected lives. And what actually came out of that was, as a result, those letters caused inspiration, so that from the contents of those letters and the emotion that stirred in me when writing those letters, I then used that now for this guided meditation that I would later author, but I didn't know that at the time. And when I needed to create a healing for myself and these other women, that I now have a new sisterhood, and that's a sisterhood of childlessness. And if I can share with you, during one of these post-miscarriage, if you will, follow-up visits with a female high-risk OBGYN, she pointedly looked at me and said, "Okay, Miss Daly, so what happened to your products of conception?" And luckily I was sitting, like most of you, but I had no idea what she meant. Medically, I understood the words, but products of conception is not something that a woman who has just lost an expected life wants to hear. I'm only now, actually quite recently, understanding that it is a medical term akin to what's called a complete miscarriage, and that's when the embryo is emptied out of the uterus. But at that time, products of conception clearly didn't resonate with me, as I'm sure you all could understand. What I told her then was, I hope that you never have an opportunity to say that to another woman again, because while I medically understood what you were saying, just as a woman who had gone through that was just incomprehensible. And so that was about 6 years ago. So recently I started collecting stories from other women who had gone through something similar, and I'm authoring a book called Not Just Products of Conception. Fast forward to 2010, when yet again we expected a little girl named Zen, and I under all sorts of medical and pregnancy-related distress to me, she actually was buoyant, as evidenced in her sonogram pictures, so hence the name she got. But unfortunately, in an effort to preserve my life, we had to terminate hers. So, as you can well understand, I emotionally shut down. But what I've caused for myself in the last year is, excuse me, is after spending the greater part of the last 9 years in darkness and despair, I said I can't do that anymore. So I pointedly looked for a meditation that would speak to me, and I couldn't find one. So that's how Voices of Zen was born. Because I figured if I'm the one looking for a meditation that would speak to me as a woman who has lost an expected life, then there has to be other women who are out there looking for the same. according to some family and friends, I have a soothing voice, so I poured all of my emotion and understanding, empathy, and compassion, and what I hope will translate into inspiration into the meditation. But what I'm present to right now is that the women and men that talked before me, is that we are coming before you with not having any agreement in society that what we're doing is number one, sound in our mind. But I think it's this level of vulnerability that will create something awesome and amazing for future women and men who go through what we've gone through. And I guess our message in terms of turning our trials into triumph is what we're here to share with you today. So what I'm committed to is continuing to doing these guided meditations and talking about unheralded and taboo topics. And Voices of Zen is just a launching pad to a national conversation, as you heard earlier, about how do we actually speak to and about women who have lost an expected life, because there's no protocol, as you've heard, to do that. We have protocol by which we go about speaking to when a child loses a parent, when a sibling loses a brother and sister, when a mate loses a mate, but not when a woman and a family loses an expected life.